Hello.
It's early for you.
It is. It's early
Thanks.
for anybody.
You're not Leslie, but thanks for filling in for Leslie today.
Sure.
Awesome. So, I would like to say sorry that we started late today. We had some technical difficulties, and by technical difficulties, I mean I was on mute and couldn't figure out why there was no sound, but it was really just mute. Because I'm going to school now. I'm taking
Mm.
classes, and so I'm in class, and then I put my computer on mute, then I forget
Right, right.
stream. I don't know. It's early for me too. Listen, I didn't notice. Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
So today we were going to talk about feedback, giving and receiving feedback. Now you've been running a writers group for 16 years. 16 years.
Yes.
Every single
Unbelievable.
Monday. Right.
Unbelievable. Yes.
In one of the places where the writers are, you're in Hollywood, and so
Holly Weird. Yes.
you've seen a lot of scripts and you've had to give a lot of feedback. You have your writers group every single Monday. You're giving
Right.
people feedback about their projects. So, of course, you're really, really, really great at talking about this topic. So, I want to hear, let's talk about when you're trying to give somebody feedback and they're not really receptive to it.
Ah,
How do you warm them up? How do you get in, like, the feedback's coming, they know the feedback's coming, you're going to have it in writers group on Monday, they know they've been working on this chapter or this scene, the feedback's coming, but they probably are going to be really sensitive about it.
yeah. I think that the more I learn in life, every situation, feedback is a delicate thing. So it doesn't matter whether someone wrote a book or a screenplay or whether it's a friend that you have to give them feedback that they haven't necessarily asked for because they're behaving badly or whatever. Or it's positive feedback, they're doing something awesome and you want to let them know. Like, feedback's just a weird thing because there's ego and there's insecurity and emotional attachment to it. And then also, so there's two sides of that, right? There's the person that's getting the feedback, whether they've opted into that or not. Like when they say read my screenplay, they're
Right.
opting into feedback. Or and then on the other hand, then there's the person giving the feedback, and there's a responsibility there too, because
Right.
it's like, if you have a performance review and you're the manager giving the performance review, you don't want to just be like, all right, Christina, well, you suck. And here's the four things that are terrible about you. That
Right.
would be really negative and it will not instill confidence. It will just
Right.
breed insecurity. So you have to be mindful of the context, the circumstances, and what the result is that you're trying to get. So in the case of a lot of things, like someone's written a screenplay and you want them to make that the best it can be from
Yeah.
your point of view, you're going to offer advice or critiques on that. I think you're going to lead with something positive,
Yeah.
right? Which sounds manipulative, but it's not really that. It's like you also have to get your own brain in check. That
Mhm.
some people like myself tend to be lean more towards like blunt and like, hey, this is a work in progress. Like, let's just get to it. Let's get to
Yes.
the stuff that needs
Direct.
fixed. Yeah.
See, even I'm even more direct than you, I think, though, because you're really soft. You're really good at the soft landing and warming people up. So,
Well, it depends on the audience. Like, I'm not always, and especially if I'm feeling more of the negative and struggling to find the positive.
yeah,
That's a real struggle for me because I want to be authentic. I want to be blunt.
hmm,
I don't want to dance around it, but I also don't want to be a jerk, you
right,
know?
right,
So, um,
How do you deliver painful news sent with sensitivity?
Right. More than anything, like a guiding light for me is at the end of the day, just a general life rule is I want to be encouraging of anybody for anything. And I don't want to be the person they point to when they win an Academy Award of like, that guy told me I couldn't do it. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I'd rather be the one that said, man, he always believed in me even when I sucked, you know?
Well, I mean, that's totally you.
So, but sometimes it's hard, right? And you're also bringing your own thing. And here's the deal is like, as the person giving feedback, you're not necessarily right either. You may think you are. You
Right.
may be passionately in the camp of like, you need to fix this or whatever. But the
Yes.
reality is you're a human being and you're seeing it from your point of view. And there's a lot of factors that maybe you're not aware of.
Right.
And, when it comes to creative pursuits, it's like if you're trying to write a novel and I like certain elements of the novel, but my creative brain would take it down this road. But you want to go down here.
Oh yeah.
Well, I have to help you go down here, not to go the way I want to go because
Yeah.
it's your story, not mine. Right. And
Right.
a lot of people want to make a thing the way they see it. And I
Yeah.
think that applies to all kinds of business stuff too. Like what we learned with the pandemic
Sure.
is a lot of people, everybody learns differently, everybody's productive differently. Not everybody is great in an office environment all the time. Some people are much better at home. Some people, it's just the opposite. They hate
Yeah.
working at home. They're isolated. They don't like that. They don't get stuff done.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you
and
hear that Amazon's changed? A lot of people are making their people come back now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I think,
Yeah.
different reasons for those things that aren't
So
always.
anyway, so yeah, so they're if we're working differently, if we are um well, I mean, even with your writers group, didn't it change during the pandemic? How did you
Well, like everybody, it was kind of incredible that we got bigger during the pandemic because we went
oh
virtual. We
yeah.
meet in person, so now we don't do Zoom at all.
Uh-huh.
But then it was like a year and a half of every Monday night,
Yeah.
16 people getting on Zoom. And that was harder to manage, right?
Mhm.
But it was good to keep up the structure and everything. But yeah, I mean, we have a structure and it's always evolving, and feedback. It's like another thing in terms of receiving feedback
Mm.
is most people, even when they say, yeah, I want your feedback, are extremely resistant to actual feedback.
Yeah.
Anything that challenges their insecurities or whatever. So like with creative things,
Yeah.
it's everyone knows it's ridiculous, but everyone wants their thing to be, oh my God, you are a genius. This is the best I've ever seen. They all know that that's not even conceivably possible,
Right.
but that's what some people want to hear. So you have to feed that a little bit with affirmation of like what is good
Yeah.
or what can be built on, which again can be challenging. Like sometimes it's real slim pickings there, but it's not helpful to just destroy someone for something. Again, check your own ego. I'm not necessarily right, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, and there are things that are objective, like in the context of business. If someone's not getting things done on time or whatever production needs to be done, but that's just very cut and dry stuff. Like, hey, you're not doing this. We need you to do that. Like
Right.
when it comes down to more like where there's finesse and execution and personality and we learn differently,
Yes.
we produce differently, that's where you have to be more open-minded and have a conversation and engage them in the feedback, you
And
know.
then you use things. What happens when they do resist? Do you use phrases like, some things that have helped me take in feedback before? People have said things like, "Listen, the way I understand it is that you're in trouble, and you wanted my opinion, and I've got the experience, and this is why I'm giving you this answer, is because of it's based on this experience. Or people have said, well, I hear you and you've tried things. I'm just suggesting that there might be another way. You don't have to try it. I'm just saying I've seen it over here happen before.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, my version of that would be, and again, it's easier in this context to come up with something than in the moment, but is to, you know, it's sort of like that rule of like make people think something's their idea. To some degree, it's like that. So it's like, okay, well, Christina, you know, this is not a contentious thing. Like, I want to be helpful to you. What would be most helpful to you? Or what do you think that you're struggling with that could improve upon? And you kind of get them to bring up stuff. So you're not the one,
right?
bringing it up. Or what challenges are you having? Okay, well, and you try to let's agree on. So if it's a production thing, right? Like you're a day late on all your deadlines, and I need the things done on Wednesdays because we're doing whatever, right?
Right.
And so you say, okay, well, you know, we need to do we're producing a podcast on Wednesdays. We got to get it out the door on Thursday morning. You're giving me this stuff Thursday early morning. It's like
Right.
ruining the flow. So what would be helpful to you to meet that deadline? What am I not providing? Like, you put it on yourself too. What am
Yeah.
I not doing? Like, what can I do
Right.
better to help you do that? Because then they can take ownership of it and so forth.
What can I
And
do to
getting
help you
past
get to that?
like, what's an excuse and what's a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
there's legit things that can be reasons and not
Sure.
excuses. But so identifying those things, but really trying to be helpful and put it on you. So when it's creative things, it's like, hey, not everybody loves every movie or every novel
Sure.
or every type of thing. So maybe this just wasn't, maybe I didn't get this. So here's my question, what are you trying to go for here? Like, are you
Right.
trying to
What are you
do,
trying to go
is
for?
this
I
a
like
movie
what you're
like
trying to
this,
go
this, and
for,
this? Yeah,
because you're
because
understanding their back
because
story and their intention.
right. So it's like, okay, so okay, you're trying to go for this. So this is the tone you're going, like this movie or this novel. Okay, okay, now I got it. Because I'm asking to identify how I can help you do that. Because if
Right.
I thought it was a wacky comedy, but really it's like a really serious crime drama,
Right.
it's like, oh, okay, it's not Anchorman. It's
Right.
like Zodiac. Okay, cool.
Here's how you
Now
get
I
there. And
right.
here's the feedback that
But
I'm going to
then
give
that
you
might
in
also
that
lead you to
context.
feedback. That might lead you to feedback where you're like, okay, so probably we need to work on tone a little bit because I didn't get that.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you're trying to like create a partnership, right? I think the word, like in corporate America, I think it's really bad. Like I tend to be someone that can be resistant to especially when you have like the new manager comes in and they always want to
Yes.
change everything, and you're like, why are we changing everything? It was fine
Right.
before you came.
Right.
um, because everyone's trying to assert their value, right? And you'll have that even in creative realms where like you'll have a bunch of people giving a bunch of feedback where it's like they're just talking because they want to prove they know
Right.
things. And it's like, but that's not helping
That's not
anyone.
helpful at all.
Be
No, you have
helpful,
to be
always be
careful.
helpful. So if you're a manager or you lead teams or whatever, is you have to still take your, it's not about you, it's about
Right.
these people,
Win-win.
individuals and team, and like, okay, how can I be helpful to you? If you're
Right.
of service, like that's what feedback should be, is service, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
don't make it like, oh, I'm here to straighten you out or whatever. It's like,
Right.
hey, what can I, and you may even
How can
start
we
with that.
collaborate
Hey, give
on
me
something?
feedback. What can I do better? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it makes it a partnership. Then you're trying to be in a partnership. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I do that. I guess I do that in my partnerships. Do I do it all the time with my friends and family?
Well, it's like
Oh
when
no.
you listen to like the old school stand-up comedians that would be mostly men. My wife, the old ball and chain, and blah blah blah. I know it's for whatever comedic effect, but that cliche is like if you have these roles where you have one party that's the complainer, the whiner, the busting,
Yes.
blah blah blah. That's not a partnership, right? I mean, hopefully most people have evolved so that that's not really what's happening these days.
Right.
But so you even look at your friendships, any kind of partnership, right? If it's one sided where one person is giving feedback, right, being
Yeah.
critical,
Right.
um, then it's just not a healthy thing, and that should be no different in work environments,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
I mean, think about your clients. Like your clients, you're coming to them like, initially you're like,
What
what
to
are your goals? What can I do to
how
help
to
you? Blah,
lead
blah,
serve
blah.
them.
You're
And along the
taking,
way, we're like, hey, here are the deliverables.
right.
Where are we at? How's this?
But
Yeah.
you're starting by intaking information about their goals, what their experience is, what they've done, what's worked, what didn't work, why
Yes.
are they coming to you, for feedback, right? And so then you're turning it around on them. Okay, based on everything, my intake of information, here's what I
Here's what
suggest.
I see.
But you're
Yeah.
not saying we have to do this. You're saying, here's what I suggest and here's why.
Right.
What do you think about that? You
Right.
know? And if there's resistance, as there
I mean,
inevitably will,
sometimes I have had to say, yeah, we're not doing that.
right. But in those times you're able to back it up. You don't just say
This
we're
is
not
why.
doing that. You're
Right.
saying this, yeah, here's why, because you're coming back to what they want, right? You're
Yeah.
circling back. Here's why, because you want this. So
Yes.
this will give you that.
Right.
So
Yep. Absolutely. And so when you're giving feedback, is that something that you've had to learn, or have you always just been like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. I'll give you my opinions on this. Here, take it. Or,
that,
have you had some difficult
yeah. My
experiences?
biggest struggle is like hurting people's feelings because
Yeah.
I'm not gentle enough with the thing that they spent hours and months writing, and
Right.
I'm not being gentle enough to be like, hey, I really liked this, but here's some things to work on, or here's
Yeah.
didn't quite work for me. So yeah, I mean, I had to learn, because like I didn't even realize people would go home and like be upset or cry or whatever,
Yeah.
and want to kind of give up, and I'm like, I don't want to be that person, even
Right.
if I didn't, because I never am dishonest. I don't. It's not that I don't
Right.
believe the
It's the
things I gave, but
delivery,
it's like,
though.
how do you deliver that information?
Right.
And
By
at
getting
the end of the
context,
day,
by
right?
understanding.
At the end of the day, I would rather deliver information in a way that encourages,
Hmm.
or at the very least does not discourage, um, rather than, well, I have to be authentic and honest, about what I think. Why? Like,
Right.
I'd rather shade towards
Yeah.
encouragement than being completely guns blazing honest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too, is like, obviously there's situations where, the stakes are very low when someone
Sure.
gives you something that they've written, right? That the stakes are low. The
Yeah.
stakes are much higher in the context of like relationships,
Yes.
or business, where there might be real challenges. And so, context matters. You have to understand the stakes. And, sometimes, like, look, you have to be able to have uncomfortable conversations, but you
Sure.
find the best way to do it, right?
Sure. Sure. There's a really great website. I'll put it in the chat. In fact, it's called How to Professionally Say It. How to Professionally Say It. And it's a database that somebody made where you can put in what you want to say, and then it will spit it back out uh,
Mm.
in a nicer, more pleasant way.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I
So you can
think
say something like I told you that 2 months ago, and it'll say prior to my past email or
right,
previous.
right, right. Well, and that's the thing too, is like some of that stuff comes off passive aggressive, like, per my previous email, 7 emails. Like, okay, all right, I get it, you hate me.
Right.
Um, but and that's like such a good example of something where like everybody's different, everybody organizes things or doesn't organize things. I'm terrible about things like emails, so it's like, can
Yeah.
you just resend me that email that you sent 2 months ago that I can't find? I know it's on me, but you don't need to be snotty about it. Like, um, so yeah, but I will say there is like this, it's like in the culture we're in today where there's like this oversensitivity. And I don't say that as a derogatory thing, but there is like that just to me objectively, there's a lot of oversensitivity to things, some of which is you're just being too, we're tiptoeing around stuff rather
Yeah,
than just, it causes more
just say it.
challenges, right? So you have to have this balance, like obviously, and that's the same thing I'm saying is like I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but at the same
Sure.
time, sometimes this shit needs to be said or get
Yes.
done or whatever. So you got
Right.
to find the way to like don't be an asshole, but
Yeah.
you sometimes just have to say the thing.
Oh, it's different for everyone and it's different for every culture. So I like to bring it back to core values all the time with people. And, what are your core values? Are they aligned? Are they aligned with your partner? Are they aligned with your company, your volunteer work, your friends? Is everything aligned? So if my core value is service and, taking care of the customer no matter what, but then I join a place that they don't really care about all of that. They're just there to quick make some money, grow, exit, sell, be done with it. It's not a good values alignment. So if I'm going to be at that place, there's going to be friction. So navigating that and understanding, well, this isn't a good values alignment, but I need the job. So I'm going to stay here and deal with it for now and work on my other opportunities? Or am I going to say, you know what, I'm just stuck at this job. I uh, hate my boss, but I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to change anything else. And I just stay. Now it's like you get in this mindset where it's everybody else's fault, it's everybody else's problem. You're not open to anything. You really start to get stuck in a victim mindset that can happen. And so, if you're in that position and you're feeling stuck and you can really tell that your morale's going down and everything, like I recommend to people to go find another thing in your life where there is a good values match. Like if you're stuck at a job, and of course, if that's your job and you have to work there and you don't have other options, I recommend to go find another place, find a partner, a friend, a nonprofit where there are good values aligned, and keep, putting your time toward that so it kind of balances that negativity out. So you don't feel so stuck. You can practice these communication skills. You can practice um, conversations that are in alignment with what you want to do over here in these other places, even if you have to be at this job just to make your money for now. You know, like that sometimes when you are stuck in a job and you're thinking, I'm just going to make some changes around here and try to help and give some people some feedback. It doesn't always work, but you still have to be stuck in that job. You still have to be there, right? You
Yeah.
can't, you're not really interested in the feedback they're giving to you, and they're not taking in your feedback, but you still have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a situation like that, that's challenging because you're not getting, it's not fulfilling,
It's
right?
not fulfilling. Yeah.
And then there are things that,
And even toxic.
yeah, right. And so I think if you can't leave,
Hmm.
right, then yeah, you kind of have to suck it up and make the best of it. But then I like the advice of seeking something outside of it to kind of meet those needs. So if your opinions are not being listened to, and that is not just you being a loudmouth, but like
Yeah.
and needing attention, but it's like
Yeah.
legitimately you're just
Right.
being disrespected or whatever,
Right.
then yeah, join a book club where people are going to hear what you have to say
Yeah.
about the book you read that month, and
Right.
like you'll
Right.
feel some value there or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that. I also think something I thought about, I don't know what you said, but I was thinking about context and how we need to check ourselves all the time. So really common scenario, you're at a pedestrian crosswalk. This guy is so slow. Come on, guy. Like I gotta go.
Yeah.
And then you're all kind of he senses you're all impatient. The only reason you're stopped is because if you roll forward, you're gonna kill the guy. So he finally gets across the street. You don't even let him get all the way across the street, and something catches your eye, and you realize, like, oh, he has like a wood leg or something, or
Right.
he's injured
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
All of a sudden, you feel like such a jerk,
Yeah.
right? You're going, oh my God, I'm such a jerk. I'm not even in a hurry. I'm like, this guy is doing the best he can. And what is my problem?
Right.
And so I do feel like you have to check all that stuff, right? Even when it comes to feedback. And so when you're managing a team of people, not everybody thinks the same way. Not everybody is as confident to express
Yes.
themselves, So even if it's a team of everybody has the same job. They're all,
Yeah.
your group of 4 salespeople and they all have the same criteria or whatever. It's like they're not all going to be the same. And, Tom might be a great closer, but he can't get on the phone and
Right.
call leads. But Betsy sucks at closing. She can't make a
Right.
sale, but she's got a pipeline that's amazing. So you
She just
go, well,
didn't
I
know
got
how to
two
motivate them
people
both.
here that
Right.
are awesome. How can I maybe get them to help each other?
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
That's
I
kind of
had a manager the once who tried to motivate me. That reminds me, he tried to motivate me by pitting me against other employees, and he'd be like, boy, they're Susie really is absolutely doing amazing this week. What are you going to do to catch up to Susie?" And I'd be like, what?" Like, first of all, I'm not here for a competition. I'm just here to do a job. And then
right.
finally, one day, I stopped him and I said, I just stopped because he was like doing it in front of Susie all the
Mhm.
time. It was like belittling me. And I stopped him and I said, "Is there something wrong with the way that I do my job?" I just said it in front of everybody. I was done. I was like, "Is there something? Do you want to go in the office and talk about it? I'm fine if you want to give me some feedback and criticize my work. That's fine. Let's go have a conversation in private in the office." And he looked at me and he was genuinely surprised. And you know what he said? He said, "Oh, you know what? I'm really sorry. I know that you're a really competitive person, and I thought, I was motivating you." I was like, "You've been belittling me for months. I don't understand."
Right. So good for him that he immediately realized he'd made a mistake, and didn't let his ego get in the way to defend that. So
Right.
that is a great example of
Not
how
everybody. Yeah.
you you have to, just because something is your thing, it does not mean
Right.
everyone's going to respond. And when it comes to that, is something I've dealt with before, is competitive. There's a lot of people that, like, I have a friend who you would think, like, on paper, you'd think, oh, she's very competitive. Like, she has a
Uh-huh.
sports background, really fit, like, very, you know, uh, passionate about things. But man, you put her up against a competition type thing, she just is like completely checks out. She wants nothing to do with competing with you or me or anybody else.
Uh,
And so I learned that through like experience, like, oh, okay, yeah, not everyone's gonna respond to that.
right.
It's like it makes her kind of cower, it makes her feel bad, it makes her like, it's just really demotivating to her. And then also along the same lines, because it's really common to like put these incentives out there or whatever.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
sometimes incentives work, but that can also backfire. On also, you have to be really, really careful about negative motivation. You
Uh,
know, like
right.
if I say to you, and it happens, right? This is super common. You're on a plan. If you don't perform in 30 days, you're fired, right?
Right.
Very few people like rise from the ashes in that circumstance.
Yes. Right.
And that's an extreme example, but we do it all the time in smaller ways, thinking we're motivating. You
Yeah.
know, if we don't do this, then we lose that, and we even do it to ourselves, right? Like if I don't go to the gym, then I can't have the thing. It's like
Yeah.
that doesn't motivate people, for a lot of times. Some people might respond
Or
to
it
that.
might be temporary, like just maybe this once or twice, but it doesn't really
Right.
motivate me with excitement and magic and make the gym magical for me. Oh yeah, I can't wait to go to the
So
gym.
that's why it comes back to you have to create context, and that involves asking questions and pulling someone in, co-opting them in to the
Yeah,
results that you're looking for. So
yeah,
if you're writing something, what is your movie? Give me the tone. What is it about? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it like what? Who's the star of it? If you had
yeah,
your pick, you know, like really let me envision what you're going for here, so I can help that,
yeah,
and not just assume, right? And if it's in business, it's a similar thing. It's like finding out, like Sally responds to this type of
yeah.
communication and Frank doesn't, you
Right.
know, he's a
Gotta
different,
kind of become a
and
talent
it's up to
detective
you.
and uncover it.
It's not even like you have to have this arsenal of like various communication weapons
No,
and
you
how
just
to
ask.
deploy them.
You just talk to people.
You literally, it's a people thing.
Yeah.
You just be empathetic and you engage people. You don't try to bully people or push your own agenda. That doesn't matter. Um, Coercing, forcing people into something, it's way better to co-opt them into it.
Yeah.
Agreeing to, oh yeah, let's do this
Collaborative
together.
effort.
Yes, we're collaborating, we're partners. How can
Yeah.
I help you?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. This is such a good discussion about feedback. And I'm so glad you got up super early this morning to join
Yeah,
me and be Leslie while she's off. She's driving this morning. She's in North Carolina doing her thing. I can't remember. I think she said she was on her way to a conference, maybe that she was speaking. Anyway, she couldn't be here. But I love talking to you, and I love the conversation and all the things about context, about all the things about soft landings, about um, even I like that you talked about how you have a tendency to be too direct because I also do that and I have to be careful to not hurt people's feelings as well. Um, I really like that's why I'm going to the Netherlands in a couple of weeks because I'm going to be speaking. I do love the Dutch because they are very direct and very to the point in that way. And when they give me feedback and when I get feedback in the Netherlands, I know for sure that they're just being Dutch and it's okay. They're not being cruel. They're just Dutch. It's all right.
yeah.
Uh, so next week, I'll be back again, Lucky and Leslie, live at 7 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Central, and Leslie's going to be here. So we will see you then, and I think we will be in Colorado. Oh yeah, not next week, but soon, October 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Leslie and I are going to be in Colorado. We're going to be teaching our leadership practicum, where we talk about feedback, giving feedback, and we actually role play with improv. And it's fun. We have difficult conversations and we laugh about it. It's good. Yeah.
Great.
So I will talk to you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much, Dane.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.